this is going to be a very controversial question. I'd like to see how you field it.
Okay.
Has Alberto Del Rio, Alberto El Patron, has he put forth a Hall of Fame career in his tenure with the WWE?
He was there for 4 years, and it's really how you... We talked about this, too.
He was there the same length as a lot of Hall of Famers.
Like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, for one thing. Maybe not, a little bit less, but even still. You know what I mean.
That's short enough.
Same period, same window of time. We talked about this a couple of days ago, when I was here for SummerSlam, in that there's so many Hall of Fame careers right now. Randy Orton, John Cena. I would even throw Christian in there, for God's sakes. How many top guys do we have right now that could be potential Hall of Famers? Even the freaking Miz you can throw in there with the career that he's had over the last 10 years. With the people that we have in there currently. It really starts to get in the gray area of who's really worthy of a Hall of Fame. Big Show, as we've said before. So it's really hard to say. Del Rio... It's a very good question. I know you can say, well, Coco Beware's in there, so automatically Del Rio.
Abdul the Butcher's in there.
Abdul the Butcher. But I mean, if we're going to go with that, then everybody, currently Dolph Ziggler. You know what I mean? Because titles, they were so far and few between back in the day, it's really different. Because now, how many titles does Kofi Kingston win? Does he deserve a Hall of Fame spot? Maybe. I'm not going to say no. Some people have said Santino with all the titles that he won. Has he made that big of an impact where he deserves to go in next year? I don't think so, personally. I think it's a bit of a joke. But it's a WWE Hall of Fame. It's all politics anyway. It's not really, it's like legitimate. As the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame that we went to in Amsterdam, New York, go there, cheap plug. But great question. Does Del Rio deserve to go in the WWE Hall of Fame? As it stands right now, I would say no. I know he's a 4-time world champion, but I don't think that makes him a bona fide Hall of Famer.
Our controversy right here is I would say he is a Hall of Famer. He's
adding in his Money in the Bank win, Royal Rumble.
Clearly, CM Punk took it from him. He was clearly the superstar of 2011. Clearly. And I think that... Overall, I think that he has put together a Hall of Fame resume, in my opinion. There are people in the Hall of Fame for less. Not territorial guys. WWE superstars in the Hall of Fame for less. I mean, if you look at Ramon, he was never a world champion. He was a 4-time Intercontinental champion, and a lot of people, and he wasn't even inducted as Scott Hall. He was inducted as Ramon, so you can't even put his WCW tenure as a part of his credentials.
Exactly. There's only Ramon. Yeah.
There are people in the Hall of Fame for less, and I'm not saying anyone who wins 3 world championships should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm saying that at one time, Alberto Del Rio was the top heel of the company. They gave him the ball following SummerSlam 2011. All right, he didn't exactly run with it, considering he was stripped of the strap a couple weeks later. But I think that, honestly, he's put together a type of resume that people in the early 90s, mid-90s only wish they could have assembled. I think that with his Royal Rumble victory, his Money in the Bank victory, just his legacy in general, in my opinion, is Hall of Fame worthy.
I think it all comes down to, I know he's had a lot of success over the years, but he never really had that big of an impact where years down the line you're going to remember Del Rio as being one of the biggest faces in modern memory, in that he was only on top for about a year. He was with the company on the main roster for about 4, but really as even last year, 2013, the guy was an afterthought as world champion. The babyface thing did not work out too well. He wasn't around for long. That flopped.
But, Graham, I don't like that argument because when I look back into the 1960s, I don't think of Antonio Inoki.
But he made an impact, though.
But with the WWE. And this is where it gets controversial. He made an impact.
Okay.
And you just made the argument when you look back, you're not going to think of Alberto Del Rio's face. When I look back, I don't think of Antonio Inoki's face. I don't. Carlos Colon.
That's exactly it. WWE is very convenient. We talk about this word convenient a lot this episode, in that it's whatever's convenient for them. It's a WWE Hall of Fame, but like Inoki, Abdul the Butcher, who has had success outside of WWE in wrestling, but in WWE he's not really worthy. Carlos Colon, what I mean?
Abdul the Butcher was never a WWE superstar at no point in his career.
WWE likes to mention when they inducted Carlos Colon, in that he was the founder of the World Wrestling of Puerto Rico, whatever, WWC.
The promotion down there.
The council, the World Wrestling Council, or whatever it's called. WWE doesn't even own that territory. So, they say that he's found success in, finding that company, that territory. But It has nothing to do with WWE. And he's had success in wrestling, but WWE-wise, does not deserve to go in.
So, if guys like that can get in the Hall of Fame, Alberto Del Rio has a Hall of Fame career. And and I do see your point how, well, if Alberto Del Rio has a Hall of Fame career, then so does Christian, so does Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
Ziggler's a 2-time world champ. He's a Hall of Fame. Like, I understand that it gets a little weird, it gets a little gray there, because that, like, when it was when the Hall of Fame was first conceptualized for Andre the Giant, it was either if you were a top star, if you made a huge impact, you were in. All right, but now it's gotten to the point, well,
there were so few top guys in the 1980s and 1970s, even for that matter, that there was really no one that you can induct.
I'm just thinking if Razor Ramon, who had, don't get me wrong, had a huge
we're
impact,
getting to that 90s era right now.
If Razor Ramon had a huge impact in the WWE, I would contest that Del Rio had a better career than Razor Ramon, and that's gonna give me a lot of heat. But
Ramon had. No, yes, Del Rio had more success.
Found more success.
But Ramon had a bigger impact.
Wasn't as over. And can you elaborate on that? Just
Razor Ramon?
Just solely because he was over with the fans, he had a bigger impact?
No. The fact that he competed in the first ever ladder match from 1990... during the 1990s, I think he was...
the first ladder match at WrestleMania.
Yes. No, yeah, not the first ever ladder match, but I'm saying that I think he's a much more memorable character. When you think of the 1990s, he's one of those characters from the 90s that helped legitimize also the Intercontinental Championship.
But Grant, that's the argument that I was just contesting. If he was one of the legitimate characters of the 1990s, well then, like when you look back in the 1990s, the new generation, name 3 stars off the top of your head from the new generation.
Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Razor Ramon.
Razor Ramon, he's in your top 4 or 5, right?
Yeah.
All right. When I look, and this is just my argument.
Yokozuna even?
Sure. When I look back on the, give me an obscure Hall of Famer. When I look back in the 1970s, Abdul the Butcher isn't even in my top 10 of people that I think of when I think of the television era.
Yeah.
Maybe if you scale it down to one territory like WCCW, maybe Abdul the Butcher's in the top 10 there.
Yeah.
But as far as pro wrestling in a decade, like all pro wrestling put into the 1970s, Abdul the Butcher isn't even close to where I would rank my top 10. So in that case, you can't say, well, this guy had a big impact because he's one of the faces of that decade. Because Abdul the Butcher, to me, in my opinion, it might differ with someone else, isn't the face of the 1970s, 60s, 80s.
No, I understand that. I understand the whole Abdullah thing. I'm talking about Razor Ramon, though.
But
I'm legitimizing his Hall of Fame
I'm trying to say that argument isn't valid in that, oh, well, Razor Ramon...
No, it doesn't apply to every... Like, Coco Beware, does he really stand out as one of the biggest characters of the 1990s?
So you can't really say, well, Razor Ramon was so over.
I'm just saying, I guess,
Because I remember Hornswoggle a hell of a lot. Hornswoggle was on more TV than Lex Luger has been. I would like someone to study that, actually. Who is on more Raws, Hornswoggle or Lex Luger? I would like someone to study that.
Well, Hornswoggle has had more longevity than half the guys in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. So I remember Hornswoggle. I've been watching since 2006. I remember Hornswoggle from 2006. You still see him on TV now sometimes. He's been the face of midget wrestling for who knows how long. And it's just like, if I remember his face, that doesn't make him a bona fide star. That doesn't make him Hall of Fame worthy. I'm not saying Hornswoggle can never go to the Hall of Fame, because at some point he probably will, because it's the WWE. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't like that argument that just because they were over and well remembered, they're Hall of Famers.
It really stands on a personal basis for everybody, because all it comes down to is all the politics. If we're talking WWE Hall of Fame, if we're talking legitimate Hall of Fame, like in the Hall of Fame that we went to in Amsterdam, New York, that is a real Hall of Fame where they, base it off of something. People vote, like peers. Peers vote on who should go in the Hall of Fame, which is why Macho Man and Randy Savage went in 2009. Jackson was saying, well, why isn't the Ultimate Warrior even in yet? Because I don't think, yes, he made a big impact for that few years that he was there, but in the overall span of thing, I don't think he made that huge of an impact in the world of wrestling. For WWE even, I'm speaking as a big Warrior fan, and that even for WWE he had a big impact, but overall wrestling, not really. And that's why he hasn't been inducted yet. Maybe when they get to, the people, when they're still scraping for more people to go in, maybe. But that's exactly why. So I absolutely agree with that sentiment. But for the WWE Hall of Fame, it's really all personal because it's not really legitimate. I would say the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, if we were discussing that, then yes. But it really all comes down to that specifically.